What's going on, guys? It's Immortal Jake back at it with another tutorial video. Today we doing Highlander. As always, if you like the videos, leave a like, comment down below what else you'd like to see, of course. Subscribe and hit that notification bell. Please hit that notification bell, otherwise it's like you're not even subscribed to me. Also, links down in the description for the Discord. Anyways, let's get to it. Highlander, guys. Alright, as always, let's get started with his basic attacks. His running attack is a heavy, while sprinting it is actually a 2-swing attack. They're wild haymaker-like swings. Use them for joining in on ganks, honestly. You won't really be able to do this in 1v1s. They're very slow, so they'll either get parried or just blocked. His lights are actually pretty fast considering that he's using a greatsword. I know all the heroes have the same amount of speed for the lights basically at this point, but I'm saying in general because it's a greatsword. I don't think you'd be able to really swing it that fast, honestly. I could be proven wrong, but the thickness of the sword in real life just seems like it'd be a little bit more of a struggle. The lights can chain together into 2 hits, the second of which gets hyper armor, and the first of which gets superior light properties. His heavies, depending on which stance you're in, can be very slow with hyper armor in his regular stance, or very slow with unblockable properties in his attack stance. Before we get into the stances, I'm going to continue with his basic attacks, following up right now with his dodge attacks. To do his dodge attacks, you're simply going to dodge and press the right trigger. This can be done from the side or the forward dodge. A cool thing about the forward dodge is it can be cancelled into a side dodge attack by simply flicking the stick to the left or right and pressing the right trigger again. So you'll do a dodge attack forward and then flick your stick and press the right trigger again to change the direction of the attack. If you let it fly, you get hyper armor. If you change the direction, it's a mix-up. So it's pretty nice. His zone is a 3-hit chain. Yes, a 3-hit chain, all from the same direction. They don't get any kind of special properties, aside from being able to feint the following 2 heavies into like a guard break or something. Or even a light if you choose. So now that we've gone over his basic attacks, let's go into his stance. Now Highlander has his base attacks as I'm shown, and his offensive form stance. To go into the offensive form, you have to hold the heavy button after any attack. So you can throw a heavy and then hold the heavy, or you could throw a light and then hold the heavy to go into the stance. As long as you're holding the heavy button down, you will be in the offensive stance. Now from the offensive stance, a few things change. As I've mentioned before, his heavies become unblockable. The most useful thing about the unblockable heavies is the fact that you can actually feint them. You can actually soft feint them into your kick. So you'll let go of the heavy to throw the heavy and then hit guard break to do the kick, which would guarantee a heavy. As I've not mentioned, his lights become quick jabs with the bottom of his sword, pommel bashes if you will. Now the next 2 attacks we'll talk about from his offensive stance are his bashes. If you press guard break while you're in the offensive stance, you'll do a kick. This kick landed guarantees an unblockable heavy by releasing the right trigger. So you hold the right trigger, guard break for the kick, let go of it, and you can hold it again after the attack lands to go right back into stance. This is his basic bash, the kick. Alternately, this attack can be soft feinted into a unblockable grab or the caber toss. To do this, you'll throw the kick and then guard break immediately again while walking backwards to cancel the kick into the caber toss. This also guarantees an unblockable. This allows for mix-up potential as far as forcing someone to dodge into that grab. Because if they dodge the kick, the grab will more than likely catch them unless they have extended dodges like Woolin, for example, okay? Now with the caber toss incorporated, you could technically do like a double feint with him. It's a little tricky to pull off, but you would simply release your unblockable heavy, kick, and then caber toss. So it's like a double feint. It's kind of crazy. You can never really tell with this one. Honestly, it's a very good attack. I do not see a lot of Highlanders doing this. Do that as well. You could feint the unblockable straight into caber toss, but the double feint from the kick to the caber toss is something I never really see happen. Only like high tier Highlanders that I've seen have done it, really. It's a really good mix-up. It's pretty insane. This stance is the fun part about Highlander. You have to actually master mixing up his moves from this stance in order to actually master the character. You will have to learn how to switch stances without effort, though this character is hard to master, I will not lie. If you can't figure out how to transition from stances quickly, you're gonna have a bad time with him. I would always suggest to practice in the training room. Practice, practice, practice. No matter what it is, especially if it's a character that you know you struggle with and you're trying to learn a new character, I would recommend taking the new character you're trying to learn, put a level 3 bot on against the character that you struggle the most with in the game, and then fight them and fight them and fight them and fight them. This will allow you to know the weaknesses of the character you're trying to learn and also how to counter the character that you struggle against the most, okay? Just a little side tip. But with Highlander, you do need to master switching stances flawlessly. This is not going to be an option for him. You have to do this. It's important because he doesn't have too many openers aside from that kick to caber toss as an opener, okay? His lights are decent speed, so you can get people with these lights, but the fact of the matter is his real damage comes from the offensive stance, okay? So you're gonna need to learn how to switch between them back and forth flawlessly. Fairly often, I would recommend trying to master using the superior lights from his base stance to go into the offensive stance. Basically, I would say to counter with his lights, go into the stance, and then, you know, try and do something from there. Even if you don't go into the stance and do an unblockable right away, even his lights from this stance are much faster and can really irritate your opponent and bait out stuff. The thing I see most Highlanders struggle with is once they're in the offensive stance, they tend to stay in it and they think that it's the best stance that you could be in. It's not always the case. As a side note, in his base stance is the only way you can actually parry an attack. For instance, you have to feint the stance in order to parry an attack. Switching between the stances is going to determine whether you're a bad Highlander or a good Highlander. As stated before, I would use superior lights to initiate the offensive stance if possible. If possible. Don't forget, while you're in the offensive stance, you can actually dodge as well. So you can dodge attacks at the same time. You just will not be able to parry or block. But now that we've gone over pretty much all of his basic movesets, we went over his base stance attacks and his offensive stance attacks. Now let's go into his chains. Now most of his chains can only take place in his defensive form. So from here on, it'll mostly be defensive form for his basic chains. So we've got light, light, heavy. Okay. We've got the double light, obviously. And we have the heavy, heavy. Both of which attacks for those two double heavies get hyper armor. Now his chains don't exactly link, but they all have the potential to go into the stance. And what I mean by that is canceling that last heavy of the chains. So either the light heavy, right? Or the heavy heavy or the light light heavy, right? You're not necessarily canceling the heavy, you're simply holding it in stance. So you'll light light, hold the heavy, and then you switch into the stance, okay? This is the basics of Highlander, switching into stance by holding the heavies, but it's important to know that you can do it in the middle of your chains at least. I see a lot of new Highlanders go straight into stance like this, just by holding the heavy button, and yeah, you could do that, but it's always better to try and initiate with a chain, get into the opponent's head, and then, you know, have at it. In my opinion, of course. Now, with those being his basic chains, his offensive stance has a few links that you can do. Feinting your unblockable into the kick, of course. Feinting your unblockable into the kick, caber toss, mix up. Okay, that's just one mix up. Now you could also alternate by landing the heavy, letting it fly, continue to hold the heavy after you throw it, and you go right back into stance, okay? So you'll release the heavy button and press it again as soon as the attack flies. And hold it down, and you go right back into stance. Now this allows opportunities for you to kick right after an unblockable and potentially do, you know, a loop. And this loop doesn't have to simply be the kick. You can caber toss in the middle of it if they start trying to dodge. Change it up. So this potentially goes into almost a 50-50. These unblockables, however, do not get the hyper armor as the defensive stance does. So be careful for very quick opponents who can light you out of them, okay? Another follow-up after landing the unblockable from a kick would be to throw lights while you're in the stance still. So, you know, say you land the kick, throw the unblockable, follow up with lights. Unblockable, kick, light, light, kick, unblockable. It's just learning to stay in stance once you're in the stance after attacking. Being able to do that is going to make the difference. But if you can figure out how to just get the habit of holding the right trigger after you do an attack, you'll stay in that stance and will leave you for more potential mix-up opportunities from the offensive stance. But as I said before, you don't have to stay in it. It's also recommended to switch every now and then back to defensive stance so you can land those parries and those superior lights, okay? Highlander is actually very good at trading with his hyper armor heavies from his defensive stance. So keep that in mind when you are fighting someone who's squishier than you. If you feel like you've got enough health to tank an attack to finish the fight, do it. I would advise using the hyper armor against opponents who also have hyper armor attacks only if you have more health than them. Keep that in mind. Always watch your health. If you have more health and you feel like you can trade, do it. You'll win the fight. But if you're losing health, if you're low, don't risk that, okay? Go into the defensive stance, hit those freaking superior lights or freaking parries, whatever you gotta do, okay? But be careful. Hyper armor does not make you invincible, okay? Now that we've gone over his chains and potential mix-ups, let's talk about his punisher. Now, Highlander's a little goofy with his guard break, okay? You only get a light from his guard break, which kind of sucks. Considering the fact that most heroes get like 20 something damage from a guard break. He doesn't get that. He gets a light that could go into his stance, okay? His heavies are just too slow. On guard break wall splat, you could just press the right trigger for a heavy. Doesn't matter which way you throw the attack, it's guaranteed. You could do it unblockable. You don't really need to because they're the same damage. 30 damage no matter what. I would just say just throw the heavy. So landing a heavy parry only gets you a light for 12. Honestly, you're probably better off doing a crushing counter on a heavy. Yeah, they do more damage. It's like 20 damage to 12. That's a big difference. So if you can, just do a crushing counter instead on heavy parries. Of course, if you parry a light attack, you can hold the heavy and release it right away for an unblockable. You could also hold the heavy and spam X if you're worried about not landing the heavy or the timing on how long you hold it. Just spam X once you land the parry while you're holding the heavy button, and that'll get to do a kick that's actually guaranteed, which guarantees the heavy anyway, just to be safe if you're not feeling comfortable with the timing of the heavy. This is something I would suggest to new players who are not used to timing yet for everything, just to be safe. When you're out of stamina, if you land a guard break, you get a light. Doesn't matter which way. Unless you're next to a wall, which he's one of the characters that actually gets his heavy if you wall splat them while he's out of stamina. So that's something that not all characters have, but he does. So he gets his heavy if you wall splat them while out of stamina. As long as you don't change the direction, though. You have to keep the direction that you grab them in for the heavy. Otherwise, changing the position takes too long, so they can block it. If you're out of stamina and you get a light parry, you can go ahead and get yourself a light back. If you get a heavy parry, you can't get nothing with that, so don't bother. When your opponent's out of stamina and you land a guard break, throw them left, do a light, and then a top heavy. 42 damage. Alternately, you could do unblockable. So throw them left, light, top heavy, unblockable, and go in a stance, which would let you potentially follow up with a kick or a kick into caber toss if they're immediately ready to dodge. So you could get another mix-up off that, but make sure you throw them to the left. Otherwise, if you throw them to the right, I think it doesn't work. Yeah, the light always whiffs for some reason when you throw them to the right. So I would say throw them to the left, because I've had weird scenarios where when I throw them forward, the light still whiffs sometimes. So just throw them to the left to be safe, okay? And finally, a parry does the exact same thing, light into heavy. You can do unblockable, or you can just do a regular light into heavy. He's pretty simple for that, light into heavy. If you do the regular heavy attack, make sure it comes from the top, because the side ones do 1 damage less. It's not too much less, but it's less. So if I do like a side heavy, look, 29 damage. It's less damage. Light into top heavy, or any of the unblockable heavies. Alright guys, so we've gone over his punishes, we've gone over his moveset, his chains. That's pretty much it for him. I guess. Let's see him in action.
Round 1.
Okay, guys. So we have a Nushia. Nushia is always a fun one to fight. Damn. That's cool. What the hell just happened? Okay, Billy, what are we doing now? Oh shit. Light, heavy. Light, kick. Heavy. Dodge attack. Didn't kill him. Light did though. Good fight. Highlander's kind of a
Round 4.
goofy, honestly. He feels really goofy. A little funky to play. Zone. Light. Heavy. Dodge attack. Light. Oh, I went to parry that. Stupid. Nice deflex. Oh, I went to parry that. Oh, I went to parry that. I got you, buddy. Good fight. Got you. Okay, guys, we're back. I could not find a duel match. I don't understand what's going on today in particular, but I was just searching, and I searched for fucking 8 minutes. I redid it. I searched for another 10 minutes, and I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna do a Dom match and see how it goes. So this is gonna be the rest of the footage. Got him. Give me that kick. Oh, nice dodge. He just thought I was gonna freaking throw it right away. I don't know why he went into the stance right away. Goofy. Nice, that's how you do it. No, I refuse. Why would you hit me out of my exit, buddy? Why would you do that? You stupid minions. You will suffer for your insolence. You can't handle this much raw Scottish form. My boy, don't die. Don't die. I'm on my way here, bro. I'm here to save you. Oh shit, I'm dying. Well, this is it. This is it, guys. Are you dead? You're dead. Oh, Billy. Unfortunate for you, isn't it? And your buddy's just gonna get fucking guckled now. I knew it. I knew it. I felt it. Oh no. They're trying to make a comeback here. What am I gonna do now? Give me that. Give me that grab, boy. Oh yeah. I think he likes my sword inside of him.
You captured Zone B.
I will take it. I'll take it. I much prefer the 1v1s, but you know, it is Dom. We play with fire when we play Dom. Boom! Yeah. I think the boys got it, right? I could just chill. I'll give them a little inspirational boost. Yeah, there you go, guys. You guys got this. Yeah. Okay, you look at me. Look at me. Look at me, man. Look away from me. You look away from me when I'm talking to you. Give me that. Oh, that was my kill. Come on, man. You bled him? I was gonna kill him. Stupid wall stopped it.
Victory!
Ugh. Oh my god, look at this toxic raider on my team. God, bro. Well, I went 11-0, so there's that. I much prefer brawls or duels or deathmatch. Anyway, guys, I'm sorry I didn't get the duel footage. It was being stupid. I couldn't find any matches. If you guys liked the video, please leave a like, comment below anything else you'd like to see, of course. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when I go live and upload. As always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.